So yeah, this is something of a continuation or extension of a talk I did in Amsterdam in the beginning of 2015, so about a year and a half ago. Um, it is so a lot of people have talked about the multi-app approach, multiple entry points, multiple different kinds of apps. I go a little deeper and talk about it as a multi-ad approach, so how that affects UA. Um, just briefly about us, we're about 5.5 years old, based in San Francisco. Social casino only. We don't do casual games or any other kind of games. We have a disintegrated casino, so our bingo, video poker, blackjack, and solitaire games are separate from our slots games. We have multiple slots games. Those slots games are all run by a single engine, so they're individual SKUs, completely unique. But and I'll get into this a little more. But they're all engine based. Before I get into the talk, I just want to set some context and some assumptions. One, we're lightly funded. If you're a company that's taken tens of millions of dollars, this will apply less to you. Probably parts of it you can still utilize, but it's not quite the same for small, lightly funded companies trying to compete in an environment when most of the competition is publicly traded and quite cash rich. This is also assuming that you're going for casino-style content. So not necessarily a casino casual hybrid, which we're starting to see a lot more of. Not necessarily if it's a casino RPG hybrid, kind of like scatter slots. That would certainly be less affected by these strategies. But no real money gaming content. That's a huge leg up if you have Aristocrat or IGT content in your games. We don't. Also assuming that you have games that justify UA spend. So if you're not monetizing, if your game is not tuned yet, a lot of this doesn't apply. You accept that most of your installs are going to be coming from other slots games. Obviously, you can get installs from Facebook and increasingly Twitter and Pinterest and stuff, but still, most installs come from other slots games. Then the last assumption is that you understand that there's no bulk discount in UA. That's something that a lot of people have a hard time understanding. The more scale you want, the more you need to spend on a per unit basis. Very key part of this. So if those are your assumptions and if that's your context, we're going to jump right into it. I start with an analog between brick and mortar casinos and mobile casinos. Basically, the casino floor is the app store. So in the brick and mortar world, if someone wants to play slots games, they go into a casino and they search for the slots title they want to play. In mobile, it's either going to the app of their choice and scrolling through the lobby or going into an app store to find a new app to install and play. So very simplified slots player behavior. The user, like I just said, enters the casino, and in the mobile environment, they either enter the casino or the app store. Then they look around the floor for the game that they want to play. Usually it's one that they feel has been lucky for them or is currently lucky for them. If they're not scrolling a lobby of a game they already have installed, they scroll through the App Store to find a new app or a new machine of their choice. Then they play. They become open to change typically if they feel like they're going on an unlucky streak or if they just want change. Sometimes people get bored and they want something new to play. And then they choose a new one by scanning for either something recognized that may have been lucky for them in the past or that just looks interesting. So the looks interesting part is really important as we all design new slots games, new slots mechanics, just things that really catch the eye and the appeal of slots players. But ads change things. If you're playing at a slot machine in a real money environment, you're not going to suddenly have an ad for a slot machine 3 steps down pop up on it. That is actually the case to a certain extent in the mobile environment. No good developer is going to throw up ads in the middle of gameplay, but we're closer to reaching them in that slots play mentality and mindset than we are in the real world. So in a case where somebody is about to leave, stand up and scan the floor for their new game, in the real world, we have the ability to actually hit them with an ad at that point and hopefully convert them into one of our games or another game. Focus on UA is not anything groundbreaking. I don't think I'm telling anybody here something that they haven't heard when I say that UA is really important. Most of the top advertisers spend hundreds of thousands, presumably millions of dollars a month on user acquisition. They have thousands of designs, huge teams managing all that. This is all something that we've all known and been practicing for a while. But anyone who's spent UA dollars at scale has found that in time, the click-through rate and the conversion rates start to decrease, and correspondingly CPIs go up. So in a period of time, you start spending more on an install and getting less of them, which is further counterintuitive. Gets a little more frustrating. And as CPIs increase, very often the quality of the user, even on a dollar per dollar basis, starts to decrease, so your return on ad spend slows down, and your LTV is actually flattened a little bit. So again, going back to the funding part, we don't have the tens of millions to hold our breath for 18, 24, 36 months for us to get our return on ad spend back. So we needed to employ some strategies that allowed us to keep CPIs down, but still spend at scale. We're trying to grow our company. Most of the people in the audience presumably are. So we needed some new strategies. When I was at Casual Connect in Amsterdam, I talked about the multi-app approach, multiple entry points. You get more organics. You can get your paid users into different apps. That really helped. But we found some interesting things that when we were opening up new apps, each of them which had 40, 50 individual unique machines in them, we were keeping our ads much more fresh than we had been when we had one slots app with 30 machines in it. So these are all individual ads, all for the same app. They look very different. Some catch one person's eye, another catches another person's eye. But it kept our CPIs relatively constant for a long period of time. So in time, we had tons of machines in our network. I think we have about 275 unique machines. Some perform very well, some don't. Some get lots of clicks and low conversions. Some get lots of clicks and lots of conversions. Obviously, any permutation you can think of. But the net effect is that we have lots and lots of ads as entries. So you'll see anything from someone attracted to the Buffalo theme, to the classic theme, to fantastical themes, to royalty themes, to Egyptian themes. You know, we really do have it all, and plenty of experimental ones. I think we have like a schoolhouse theme with pencils and pens and erasers and notebooks and stuff. And what that's added up to for us is a network effect. So when we're talking about our economy, we're not talking about it on an app-by-app basis. We're talking about it in an in-network basis. We measure our retention for how long a user spends within our network, as well as within an individual app. Monetization the same way, which has been a wonderful effect for us, but it's further held up by this multitude of themes and how it keeps the CPIs down. Taking it a step further, however, we realized that we were doing something else. With those 275 plus machines we have, we realized we were auditioning a lot of themes. Up there we have classic slots on the top right. We have Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump on the top left. Like a 1920s flapper theme, and then I think that's a pirate theme, or I don't know what that is. I can't see it. But it doesn't matter because we have dozens or hundreds in a lot of cases of themes. And also quick, well, wait a minute. Sorry, got a little tripped up there. Because we have so many themes, we can't just be reskinning our slots games. So we're forced to constantly create new content. Some are just derivations of existing slots titles that we have, but some are dramatically different. We can be really experimental. And we're finding out a lot of interesting things about our machines and the behavior of the players who are attracted to them. So in this hypothetical example, we'll just say that this one works well from a UA to monetization, that extent of the funnel. This one works well, and this one doesn't. So we'll probably either remove that machine in this case or bury it towards the back of the lobby and bring these other three machines towards the front. So there's lots of information that we're gathering and studying and trying to figure out. I would love to say that I have all the answers to this. I don't. It's tons and tons of data. We're actually storing every spin in a lot of cases. But we're finding which ads and themes attract which type of people, what play type comes along with those people. Does a hardcore Egyptian theme attract someone who really wants high volatility and is potentially more of a whale, where that schoolhouse theme is better for a low volatility machine, someone who's probably going to monetize maybe $4 or $5 a month, not at the thousands of dollars a month that the high volatility players really like. What math types and in what order retain those players? So if they come in on more of a high volatility math or low, whatever it is, what do you step them to next? What math types monetize players and win? So if someone's come in and they've played 4 different machines and they have not yet monetized, and then you bring this math type in front of them, does that get them to convert to become a spender? These are all things that we're noticing patterns on now and trying to optimize and getting better and better at it. And then from that, it's all about moving them, whether it's within the same app or just to another app, another machine in our network. It's all about keeping them around, keeping them happy, keeping them spending or getting them spending. It's all combined to attract a lot of high-quality players for us. We find every time we start cross-promoting people, which up front we did way too aggressively and we've since backed off, but when we cross-promote, we will unlock a bunch of spenders. Some people will be in one of our games for 2 months and never monetize, and then we'll get them into a new game and they will convert to spend. But it does come with drawbacks. It's not all peaches and apples. The tech to manage this is difficult unless you want to have dozens or bigger engineering team. The machine design, I already touched on that a little bit. You're forced to just create more and more machines that are more and more unique. These players are not stupid. They know when they're getting the same old thing, they expect to get new stuff. They like trying new stuff, even if they do ultimately go back to the machine that they're most loyal to. The art assets, not just for the machines, but for the ads, are extensive. I don't really have a solution for that. You just need lots of designers. We modularize things. It helps it speed up a little bit, but it is certainly an undertaking. UA campaign management, we might spend the same amount as another company, but if we're doing it on 5 times the number of campaigns, that obviously requires additional bodies. And then there are some economic drawbacks. I was saying we don't measure our economy on an app-by-app basis, but a network basis. That comes with the extension of the lifetime, the improved retention, but you're also multiplying out some of the negatives in your economy. So if you have a daily bonus collect of 100 coins, for example, and you have 8 apps and someone's playing all 8 of them, they actually have 8 times as many bonus collects, which means they can stay in your network and play for free for an extended period of time. We're not ultimately too concerned about that because they could do that with other companies' apps, but it is something we have to pay attention to. Our way of solving the tech is through an engine. All of our math, all of our reels, all of our third-party integrations, all of our socials, be it scrapbooks or clubs, and all of our art basically exists as a module within our engine. So we can very quickly combine those into 40+ machine permutations, release an entirely new app. The good news is if there's a bug in app number 1 that we fix it in the engine. So if that bug also existed in app number 2, the next time we push, it's already fixed. We actually run those 275 machines across 8+ different apps with an engineering team of 14. So it's not a huge team. It's very efficient this way. Again, we're 5 years old. We're on the 21st version of our engine, so it's taken a while, but we think it was a worthwhile investment. Machine design, like I was saying, it's variations. There's really no nifty way of solving this. You have to be creative, and you have to make all sorts of new machines. The users expect it. Same thing on the art assets. There's really not a lot you can do. You need to scale out your design team. They need to work closely with your UA team, and they need to create a lot of ad assets. One thing that we have found is that if we present the data in very clear ways, we can get our designers looking at it, and they can draw some very clear assumptions on it. These are typically non-quant people that are doing quant tasks. So again, it has to be presented to them in the right ways, and they have to be working with project managers. But we've really sped things up by having our designers in the data. UA campaign management tools, to a certain extent, you do have to scale the team. But we are building more and more tools for them. We recently divided our engineering team to build tools. A lot of it is programmatic bidding. You can, if you have a UA manager sitting there looking for some basic hurdles, if an ad crosses it, then bid up, and if it fails to cross it over X period of time, bid it down. You can teach a machine to do that. There is a lot of art involved in this, but ultimately UA management should be as much of a science as possible. And also workflow tools. 6 months ago, most of the time our analysts were spending was just uploading ads. That shouldn't be the case. That should be an automated thing. So we've started building tools around that. I already talked about this briefly, but we tune our economy holistically. That's network-wide. Obviously, we have to tune it on an app-by-app basis, assuming that people are potentially, in some cases, just spending time within one app. But we have to figure out what the most common behavior is. How many apps do people typically play of ours, and what does that larger economy look like? I already said the strategy does multiply some of the bad things. I put bad in quotes, but some of the negatives in an economy. Free login collect, big wins, and therefore the ability to play longer for free within our network. So really, in summary, because I'm getting to the end here, fresh creatives keeps click-through rates and conversion rates up, and that keeps your CPIs steady. If you're really good at it, it starts bringing your CPIs down. There's no better way to keep creative fresh than with more content. We kind of did that accidentally, but we found that as we got out more content, we were able to bring our CPIs down. And secondarily, we were auditioning tons of new machine types and new art styles. We found the network effect was massive, and then even though it does come with drawbacks, we try to solve as many of those drawbacks with technology as possible, and in the cases where we can't, we're not afraid to scale up our team. So yeah, in summary, that was about not just the multi-app approach, but the multi-ad approach and how that can affect your company and your UA team specifically. And with that, we'll go into Q&A.
You have a lot of apps. You have a lot of machines within these apps.
Yeah.
In today's world, a lot of games are shifting into virtual reality. Do you think that it has a place within casino as well? Could the virtual reality, if there was like an app that had virtual reality slots, would that create higher spenders?
So, I mean, I think the first step towards VR and slots is kind of what we're seeing in Pop Slots. That's a virtualized casino. It's not true virtual reality with the goggles. I don't think there's any doubt that we're going to get to VR slots. I just don't think it's within the next couple of years. You're not going to see a company like us focus on it. Though there are plenty of medium and small-sized companies in the space that are focused on figuring that out. And yeah, I think this approach will affect a VR slot title as much as it does a regular video slot title.
Hey, you talked about different segments of players, so the Egyptian high volatility segment versus a schoolyard ad. Do you think about your applications as different segments of users, or do you think about it as adapting the experience once the user is into the game?
Currently, it's about adapting the experience once the user's in. But yeah, I think increasingly we're trying to build apps that this set of themes appeals more to the casual player, this set of themes and math types appeals more towards the hardcore player, and trying to market each accordingly.
And does the multi-app data that you have support that?
Yes.
That's correct? Okay.
Very much so. People don't generally switch between those types. Like people that want that low volatility aren't going to suddenly want the high volatility and then go back to low. Generally, people want to stay at one or the other.
So on your titles, I noticed that there's a lot that sort of mirrors some of the land-based slots. Do you try to mirror the volatility to match those slots specifically?
Not necessarily. We're not going to try to reverse engineer the volatility of a lot of the land-based stuff. I think we operate under the assumption that most of it is higher volatility. But in some of our cases, we have low volatility matched with traditional land-based themes. But I would say, as a rule of thumb, most of our land-based mimicking comes with high volatility math.
Thanks a lot, Nick.
All right, thank you.